Chapter 11, Section 3. Essential question. How does water get polluted and what is being done to clean it up? What is point source pollution? Point source pollution is pollution from a single source. It's easily identifiable. A factory, a wastewater treatment plant, a leaking oil tanker. You know exactly where it's come from. What is non-point source pollution? It's also known as runoff pollution. It comes from many different sources. It's very difficult to identify because you do not know where it is coming from exactly. What are the 5 types of water pollutants? There's wastewater. That's water that contains wastes from homes and industries. Artificial eutrophication. That's the addition of phosphorus and nitrogen in water. It causes plant growth, algal blooms, which uses up all the oxygen aquatic animals need and causes them to die. Remember, we talked about a big thing that adds phosphorus to the water was laundry detergents. Thermal pollution. Heating up the water, it can kill fish. A lot of times factories will use water from a nearby source and they return that water to the nearby source, and now it is warmer than it was before. Groundwater pollution, pesticides, herbicides, chemical fertilizers, petroleum products, leaking underground storage tanks. Ocean pollution is legally dumping wastewater and garbage overboard in some parts of the ocean. Some cruise ships just throw all their waste overboard, and it's legal in some parts of the world. Oil spills. 85% of ocean pollution comes from runoff. There's so much plastic pollution in the ocean. They say there's more plastic than there are fish. Artificial eutrophication looks like this. It's when you're adding phosphates into the water, causes the algal to bloom. And this one is saying, in an effort to limit artificial eutrophication, some states have either banned phosphate detergents or limited the amount of phosphate in detergents. We have thermal pollution. Once water is heated up, the fish cannot adapt and they end up dying. Sources of groundwater pollution have pesticides, urban pollutants, wastewater plants, industrial waste, hazardous waste injection well, landfills, it percolates down into the groundwater, road salt, lawn fertilizers, petroleum storage tanks, private wells and septic tanks. All of that stuff can get into the groundwater. What are the effects of pollution on an ocean ecosystem? It can kill everything for kilometers downstream. This just happened to us again when they released water from Lake Okeechobee. That water has a lot of fertilizers in it coming off of the sugarcane factories, and that causes artificial eutrophication in the water, and we have huge fish kills. Biomagnification. This is a picture of biomagnification. I'm going to move on to the next slide and explain it a little bit more. So biomagnification starts out with the smallest things in the ocean ecosystem, plankton. Plankton is the bottom of the food chain. It contains 2 parts per million of a pollutant. So if it eats a pollutant, it contains a small amount of it, 2 parts per million. Minnows eat plankton. If they eat 10 plankton, how many parts per million of the pollutants do they have? Well, it's 10 times 2. And they have 20 parts per million. Bass eat minnows. If they eat 10 minnows, how many parts per million of pollutants do they have? So that's 10 times 20. they're going to have 200. Eagles eat bass. If they eat 10 bass, how many parts per million of the pollutants do they have? So 10 times 200 is 2,000 parts per million. So this is biomagnification. Bio means life. And as we move up each level, the concentration of the pollutant gets higher and higher. How are we protecting water quality? We've passed laws and acts to hold people responsible for polluting water and cleaning it up. In 1972, they had the Clean Water Act. They also had the Federal Water Pollution Control Act. In 1975, they have the Safe Drinking Water Act. In 1980, they had the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act. In 1987, they had the Water Quality Act. And in 2000, they had the Oceans Act.